Have you ever wondered if you've lived before or will live again? Are you curious about what happens to your soul after you die? Or maybe you've met someone you're sure you've known before. Or maybe you're just wondering if you have talents, skills, and experiences from a prior life that could help you now. Hi, I'm Brownell Landrum, author of the upcoming We Meet Again trilogy, and I'd like to welcome you to the Life is a Trip podcast. The following story is written and narrated by Nene Ross, a dedicated social worker based in Queensland, Australia. Nene has a passion for writing stories that explore unusual themes like spirituality, past lives, and other intriguing topics. It's her way of delving into the mystery of life and sparking imagination.
Not Yet, by Nene Ross. Once she saw Crystal's kayak, she was glad she did not use her own. Climbing into the solid, inflatable, easily portable kayak, it was clear that Crystal was not the type for a quick trip down the river. Confirming this was her secure, waterproof items and her confidence when pushing off. The scraping sound of sand and shells, along with the salty smells, quickly shifts Maddie's anxious sentiment to excitement. With Crystal, keeping up with the group was effortless, allowing Maddie to immerse herself in the landscape of loud crashing waves, black sand, and cliffs with green fields visible above. Her thoughts were untroubled as Crystal discussed her work. She enjoyed hearing the stories of travelling, photography, and models. Maddie chose not to say much, even when Crystal showed true interest in her work, her children, and the dramas with her ex-husband. Navigating the open water, the sea became rough. The wind, reported to be 7 knots, seemed more like 20. Maddie began to focus her energy on propelling the kayak. Soon, the team leader directed them inland to a rocky cliff with dark shapes, which Maddie could see were the entrances to the caves. Crystal was mentioning the winds had picked up, just seconds before the team leader gave the same concern. Thinking they'd turn back, Maddie prepared herself, but a few in the group insisted that there was enough experienced people to push through. Soon they were at the mouth of the caves. Crystal's paddling changed to an assertive push-down along the kayak. Maddie observed her taut arm muscles and straight back, thinking a lot had changed since school. Everyone separated into small groups, with each group having an experienced person with them. Their group was made up of Maddie, Crystal, and Gray. Maddie studied the experienced Gray. No more than 25 years, strong, eager, and always answering with, "I got you," when they raised their concerns. "Let's go this way. I know an amazing cave," Gray says. "It's got lots of spaces and tunnels that lead off from the centre." Gray's body launched his kayak swiftly, speeding along. "Guess we'll follow Gray then." Crystal tilted the paddle while Maddie sighed desperately, wanting to reply, "No, please don't follow Gray." Before they could protest, he was at the crest of the wave, yelling at the top of his lungs as he entered a cave. The cave was low, and they had to go in and duck their heads. Biting her lip, Maddie spoke. "What shall we do?" Crystal was hesitating and watching the waves. "Well, can't see very well, but he's in there okay. Let's go on the next wave." Crystal lifts the paddle. The next wave they took, it started like the rest, but just near the mouth, it swelled greatly, lifting them near the top of the quay, their helmets banging against the hard rock as they lay flat. As they entered the large cavern, the kayak was suddenly thrown sideways as another wave joined from the other side. Maddie felt the momentum of the wave throw them out. Dark and struggling to find the top, she was spun violently around. In the confusion, searing pain engulfed her as her arms smashed against the cave wall. Her lungs ready to explode, her heart hammering as hard as the surf. Eventually, her life jacket popped her out of the water. Finally, air entered her burning lungs. Disorientated, she could hear Crystal yelling, "Swim to the light, Maddie!" Her concern was palatable. Maddie adjusted her eyes to the dim light ahead. "I'll try. My arm, it's useless." Soon Crystal was there with the kayak, which had also come the same route as they had. Her silvered, scarred hands lit by the light, grabbing and pulling her in. Maddie lay in the kayak as Crystal started to assess their situation. We're blocked off from the main cave. I can't see an exit. We must have been pushed down a tunnel by the wave. We're really close to the top of the cave. Will it get any higher?" Maddie asked. "No, it's high tide. If no one finds us, we'll see an exit as the tide goes out." "So we wait?" Maddie grabbed her arm. Crystal looked at Maddie's arm as she pulled out a bag that had first aid equipment. "Do you smoke?" "Well, if not, might be a good time to start." Crystal pulled out a lighter and lit the medicinal smoke. Maddie drew hard on the smoke, desperate to alleviate the pain. "Hungry?" Out of Crystal's bag of tricks came some salty beef jerky. Maddie, then with her good arm, pulled her bag from behind her to get her water. Crystal then put her leg on the top of the cave to steady them while they lay in the dark. The dark began to smother Maddie and jerk painful thoughts to the surface. Not knowing what to do with them, she thought of Crystal's hands. Crystal, back in high school. Oh, sorry, what am I doing? I think I'm just in a lot of pain, cold, friggin' scared. I'm trying to use the most painful time of your life to ease mine. That's selfish, sorry. No, it's okay. Go ahead, ask. You were probably one of the only ones that didn't. It was true. Maddie hadn't asked, even though she really wanted to. Maybe I should have told people. By not doing so, everyone made up stories, and I became the freak. Maddie felt Crystal's pain, but it didn't help her. I couldn't tell anyone, because the truth was too unbelievable. Well, here goes nothing, sighed Crystal, as she began to tell Maddie her story. Maddie wasn't sure, but the sloshing water echoing in the black, fused with Crystal's smooth timbre voice, began to fade the pain. Crystal set the scene. She was with 3 other students practicing in the old hall at night for the Wizard of Oz. The now infamous Sutherland's fire was started by old electrical wires which blazed in the back, and was accelerated by boxes of combustible costumes and decorations. In the chaos of trying to put it out, and realizing they couldn't, the black smoke overtook them. The police told Crystal and her parents that surviving a fire like that was 1 in a million. Crystal said she did not feel like 1 in a million. Crystal's voice slowed as she continued to recount the night. I was laying on the ground, going in and out of consciousness. I remember a woman leaning over me. Her dark hair was short and wavy. Her pants high-waisted, and they matched her white and black checkered top. I may have been delirious. I don't know. It was weird. I thought the woman must have been part of the show. Crystal shifted her weight and coughed, loosening her tight larynx. The woman said, "Crystal, not yet," and grabbed me by the leg, pulling me to the door. I know how it sounds, but she did it. I remember floating above my body, and I could see the flames engulfing the hall. I called to the woman, "I'm dead. Leave me." She answered in my head, "You're not meant to be here." Crystal then detailed events that Maddie could not fathom. Then I was no longer in the hall. It's crazy, but I was sitting on the edge of a cliff. Behind me was this forest with enormous, twisty trees with their canopy obscuring the sky. Below was a long beach. The water was so clear, like crystal clear. It was amazing. On the beach, there was a giant walking towards me, his height unimaginable. Maddie was fascinated as Crystal went on, describing the shimmering of energy from everything and the vibrant colours, insects the size of washing machines. Everything was communicating with sounds and energy. Then as the giant came close, he spoke in my mind. "Hello," I said to him. "Is this heaven?" I felt strangely such love and affection for him. He said, "If you want it to be." His eyes were warm and enormous. I felt like I fell into them. Crystal explained that the place felt familiar and asked the giant, "What is this place?" As the words were delivered, Crystal said she knew the answer. It was home. A long time ago, lasting over 1,000 years, Crystal had lived there with the giant. That's amazing. I can't imagine what it would have been like to go through all of that, Maddie said, genuinely amazed, while also terrified by it. Crystal shifted in the kayak. Maddie wondered if she could sense her utter bewilderment. I know it's a lot to hear. It changed my whole life. I even feel him today. It's impacted me that much. Do you want to hear more? Is it... Maddie did not want Crystal to stop, and there was a compulsion beyond the fear to know more. Don't stop! I'm just glad you trust me with your story, and it's helping me to ignore the pain. Crystal told her that Earth was once expansive, a much larger planet than today. Sadly, she remembers her people dying when the invaders came and chopped down the ancient trees. Maddie, it was an amazing place. It was truly the Garden of Eden. Maddie, trying to comprehend, asked, "Do you believe it? I mean, have you ever considered it an illusion?" Crystal shifted her other leg to the top of the cave. I did, but it was just too real. Maddie pulled 2 chocolate bars out of her bag for them. Visions hung between them as they quietly ate their bars. Crystal, swallowing her last bit of the bar, continued her story. Sitting on the cliff, looking into the eyes of the giant named Labic, she saw their 1,000 years together, streaming pictures like a fast-paced movie. Their children, and living in harmony with Mother Earth, their connection with everything. The simple fun they had dancing, sharing sounds like people share songs. Soon, just as she was accepting being there, Labic gave her a sense of going back, a visions of her future and what would happen. There was her photography, travels, her husband, and even her future children. Unexpectedly, Crystal then halted, and in a hushed and slow voice said, "Even today." Maddie rose up using her good arm. "Even today? You knew what was going to happen and didn't say anything." Crystal turned her head. "I'm sorry, Maddie. There's a reason we're not doing this today. I was shown why, but I didn't want to say, how could I? Maddie didn't understand. Did Crystal really know what was going to happen? No, surely not. This was insane. It was decided that I would come back, and when I did, I changed. I knew things, the future, and I thought telling people was what I was supposed to do. Telling Mr. Mackenzie to stop drinking, otherwise he'd be dead in a year, or telling Susan to always ride with her helmet on. None of it helped. I mean, everyone thought I was a freak. People still died. What was I supposed to say today? Let's not go, because we'll get trapped. But don't worry, we will be saved, and that's good because you'll avoid a much bigger tragedy than this. Maddie took a deep breath in and began flicking her good hand, a habit when stressed. Okay, just so I'm clear, we will be rescued? That's good. That's good. Hey, just a thought. Maybe you should have started the story with that. Maddie and Crystal started to laugh. As they did, they spotted a light below. Within the brief span of time, the rescue boat was taking them back. In the cubicle at the hospital, waiting for the nurse, Maddie noted Crystal looking concerned. Crystal turned to Maddie. I didn't finish the story. Maddie lifted her eyebrows in acknowledgement. Crystal continued her story at the point of waking up in the hospital. There were her parents and the woman who dragged her out. Crystal said she could hear everything people were thinking. Their senses were alert to every sound, smell, and sight. In her mind, she thanked the woman who dragged her out, then asked her who she was. The woman conveyed in her mind, "Don't you know?" Instantaneously, she knew the woman was her in her past life. It was the 1930s, and she worked in the circus as a tightrope walker, a job that ended her life early. Crystal asked her, "Why did you say I shouldn't be there?" The woman replied, "You were not meant to go to rehearsal. The fire was not for you." Crystal says she remembers looking down at her hands, wrapped in bandages, with thoughts of the students and how it was for them but not her. As she looked up to see the woman herself, she was gone. Maddie looked at Crystal curious. "Why did you choose to tell me?" "Because you understand." Maddie gave Crystal a sideward glance, not saying a word. Later, after Crystal dropped her off, promising they would catch up for lunch soon, Maddie went inside to shower and get ready for bed. Her phone rang and she saw it was her ex-husband. It nearly went to voicemail before she answered. The struggle to be the ex, being phoned about the kids, was something Maddie had not easily transitioned to. They discussed her day, which he sounded truly sorry about, almost like the man she fell in love with. He then compared her day to the day they could have had if Maddie had not gone kayaking. Maddie felt a chill, remembering what Crystal had told her earlier. "What are you talking about?" "Oh yeah, of course. You won't know with everything's happened today. Really don't know how to say this. It's horrific. You know that soccer trip? The one the kids were meant to go on, but we changed weekends?" "Yeah, I know. Maddie, the bus had a head-on collision. They went over a cliff. 3 kids, Georgia, Isaac, and Andrew, have been killed and many injured. Some may not make it through the night." Maddie collapsed onto the bed. "Oh, no, oh my God." After the call, Maddie let wet tears gush. As she pulled the towel on the bed to wipe her face, she spotted a familiar blue knit tulip skirt at the edge of the bed. Knowing the familiar skirt, she moved her eyes upwards. There was her grandmother Matilda, sitting regally with one arm stretched out on the bed. "Not yet, my darling. Not yet."
Nene and the Whole Life is a Trip group thank you for listening to her story. Nene is currently working on a series of stories with a spiritual weave throughout. To follow her writing, you can find Nene Ross That's spelled Nene Ross, Ross, on Facebook. Hi, this is Brownell. For more of these transcendental tales, please join the Life is a Trip group on Facebook and check out my amusing and enlightening story entitled The End, which you can find on my website, brownelllandrum.com. That's BROWNELLLANDRUM.com. And please look for my upcoming novel trilogy entitled We Meet Again. It's a story about a famous couple reincarnated today to help solve a centuries-old mystery that will change the world.